Hello, this is Sam Gerrans from samgerrans.com. Today is Saturday, December the 2nd, 2023, and today the subject is I am with you waiting. Now, if you know my broader work, you know that this is from the Qur'an. This is the statement of the recipient of the Qur'an after he's warned people, and thereafter it's a matter of God to do what he does. Now, the reason why I've chosen this as a title is because what I want to do today, as people who know this channel well know that I don't normally upload on Saturday, is I've been giving some thought as to what to do next, if anything, regarding this project. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because if you know my work, and I assume that most people who follow this channel do, the Qur'an translation, hermeneutical process, pantextual analysis, the God protocol, and solution to the mysterious letters, you'll understand that these three things are essentially one thing. And if you don't know that work and you want to become acquainted with it, you can do that. If you go to samgerrans.com, you'll find links there to all of that. You can download that for free. So if you know my work, you know that this is essentially a single entity. After that, I understood that it's important to try to help people to protect themselves to some degree against propaganda, which is essentially everything that you're getting in the system, because the world is full of lies. Unfortunately, I mean, nobody likes it that way. Well, I mean, some people like it that way, but there we are. And it really does matter what one believes. Now, if you've been following my work, you'll know that I've operated outside of the mainstream. I also worked, I had, what's known in the system as a good job, in fact, several good jobs before I did this. And I undertook this project. I mean, you have to understand that if you demonstrate on the basis of the book that the Muslims claim as their foundational scripture, that they don't really understand it. It's not just an assertion. You can actually prove it. Then certain things go with that. Certain career impacts happen with that. And for me, I knew that would be the case in the West, and when we lived in the UK, that certainly was the case. You go through a process when you apply for jobs and so on. There's an initial, oh yes, great, really happy to hear from you, and then as you kind of get closer to the end of the filter, they do what's called an online audit, and at the end of that process, you don't get any more responses. That's okay. I understood this. This is part of the discipline, that you choose this life or the life to come. And I'm very happy with my choice, but I'm just explaining to you, there's this thing, I know this is the internet and everybody thinks that everything's just magically appears from nowhere, but there's this thing called reality that we have to deal with. Now, what I'm going to do in this is just outline where I am and then just sort of explain it, that's all. I have personally, after the work that I've done, I have two areas of interest primarily. I'm certainly not interested in talking about propaganda anymore, and I don't think there's anything more to say. I mean, you either get it or you don't. For me personally, there are two areas that I am interested in. The first is I would be interested in writing a full commentary on the Qur'an. The second is I'm definitely interested in looking at previous scriptures in the light of the Qur'an. The Qur'an, just briefly, it says that it is it confirms previous scriptures, but it's a control over them. Now, there's no question that there is some antagonism between what the Qur'an says and what the previous scriptures in their present condition say, and I think that this would be an interesting area of study. But that's me. I have these strange interests. There we are. Now, however, I don't know, but I don't think that in real terms there is the interest in these things, out there. What people want, so far as I see, and this tendency is increasing, is what they want everything to be easy, and they want to be entertained. That's essentially it. And I think that the real audience for the kind of work that I would be interested in doing is disappearing like mist in the morning sun. as everybody gets essentially, and it's impacting all of us, we're becoming essentially stupider. All of us are. And as I've said before, this is a race to the bottom, and whoever gets there last wins. The second point is that my main work is done, and I'm very pleased with that, and I'm very privileged to have been able to do that. I will continue to study for myself anyway, because I'm interested in these things, but I don't think there is a demand for it out there. People will say yes, but they won't really do it. So I think that's the case. Now, I have a reality that I have to deal with. If you know me, you know that I live in Russia. And in Russia, we are under the greatest sanctions that have ever existed. This is an economic war against this country. And I have to say that when two things. Firstly, when this special military operation began, I decided to stay here. And I thought that one might have assumed that there would be a certain amount of reciprocal appreciation. That hasn't been the case in Russia. It's very, very difficult for me to work here, I think, for some of the same reasons as it is in the West. Because, and I've been through this process with large companies here, because what I wanted to do was to work here for a company, and that would subsidize my work online so I could continue to do it. But it doesn't work that way. I've been through interview processes with one particular very large company, and once they get to the top, when you're in the top tier, they do an online audit and the phone goes dead. So that's what happens. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, although I have Russian citizenship, I am what's called Россиянин, like a Russian citizen. Because I'm a British citizen, I'm viewed with suspicion. Now, you can't blame people for doing that, given what the British are doing. I'm just explaining to you that this is the reality. So not only have I been essentially excluded from the work pool in the West, it's also happened here. I wasn't expecting it. And honestly, given that I stayed here over this period, it's a little galling, but, it is the reality. So anyway, I'm not complaining about any of this. I'm just explaining to my audience what's happening with me, because again, there is this thing called reality. So I'm just explaining to you what that is in my case. Now, all the work that I've done has been what you might call supported through micro donations and crowdsourcing, crowdfunding, I guess you would call it that. And I'm very appreciative of that. And that's it's been a great honor, I have to say, to be able to do things in that way. I've never had any proper funding, like a university funding or a business funding or anybody really doing this. This has been done on a shoestring, and maybe that was the best way to do it. Maybe it was, but given everything, given the fact that it's very difficult. This is tapering off pretty much to nothing. And I have to deal with that reality. And I know we're all having a tough time now. There's no question. I think in the West, people are having a tough time too. And that's impacting things. I'm just having to deal with this. So the reason why I'm talking about this is having got to the end of what I feel I need to say about propaganda, I need to look at, is this worth continuing? What do I do next? So either I have, a proper supporter, because historically in the Middle Ages, let's say, for example, you would have a patron, somebody who would help you. This was how science began. This is how a lot of writers began. This, this is how it worked. But it doesn't. I've had people help, and I'm very appreciative of that. But unless I get a proper patron to help me, so that I can dedicate my time to this, I have to do something else. It's not a choice. This isn't a matter of gall or in Russian the word is abida, being sort of offended at something. It's just a fact. And I think that everybody is going through a tough time. So am I. But on top of just what's going on generally, although Russia is developing economically hugely, it's the people who are making the money. It's the huge companies. All right, it's very corporate here, and that's just a natural progression. For me, that isn't the case, and as I say, I've essentially been excluded from the workforce in any capacity that I would find interesting, and that would, frankly, be a correct use of my talents. In the absence of proper support, enough so that I can dedicate myself to things which are very interesting to me, but might not be interesting to, enough other people, I need to do something else. I need to start some sort of business, or go and live in the wilderness, or I don't know what, but it has to be something, something has to give. So as I say, I was hoping to find work, and I've spent the last many months looking to do that, so that I could work for a company at a reasonably high level and support this work. But it's not possible, and I know that now. So going forward, what I've decided to do, given that I've come to the end of Jacques Ellul, and again, buy Jacques Ellul's book, The Propaganda, The Transformation of Men's Attitudes, and also, while you're at it, his book, The Technological Society, I've decided to do the following. I'm going to take a month out. I'm not going to make any more content over the next month. I'm going to pause my Substack donation process, subscribe it, I don't know what they call it. I'm just going to pause it so people won't get charged on that. I'm also going to open up all of the videos that I've made on propaganda on my Substack, so the whole thing is available to anyone who wants to watch it. But I'm not going to allow comments to anyone, because I just can't. I think if somebody doesn't at least help you out a bit, I can't be bothered to read, potentially 7 billion people's worth of, nonsense, not to mention bots and, all the rest of it. Over this month, I'm going to pray, I'm going to fast, I'm going to get clear on what the next stage should be. And if help comes in that time, but I mean real help, I don't just mean words, I don't mean blah, 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 I mean actual, something real, then I'll take it and I'll work with that, and dedicate the next, whatever it is, couple of years to these projects that I find really interesting, and I hope other people would. But if it doesn't come, then I'm going to consider that my work is finished. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to change course and have to do something else, and that's fine too. So ultimately, when it comes down to it, if you know my broader work, I'm just like everyone else. I mean, I've never said that I was anything more than a believing man and a student of the Qur'an, and that's my position. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm with everyone else. I'm waiting just as they're waiting. As far as I'm concerned, the God protocol has been executed. I have no idea. I have no inside information. I've never claimed to, and I don't. I just can read a book with my eyes open and with my brain engaged. That's the extent of my claim, and perform analysis on that basis, and I've done that. But at some point something has to give. You can't just keep kind of waiting in the middle. And as I say, having come to the end of Ellul's work, I don't think that I can really justify putting this amount of time into something which is. What's happening is that there's sort of the diminishing returns. The way to build this up, just in short, if I was interested in supporting myself and creating this thing, the only way to do it is to dumb it down and become the sort of what's he called, and Andrew Tate of Qur'anite investigations and so on, or whatever it is. You'd have to make 15-second memes, and this is not only is this not interesting to me, this would be an abomination in my view. Okay, so that route is not interesting to me, because I actually care about treating this subject correctly. If other people want to do that, I leave it to them. My view has always been that I would appeal to people who could listen to something for more than 15 seconds, because if they can't do that, they can't read my work. You know, this isn't an entertainment stream. This has been about solving fundamental problems. Hermeneutical, exegesis problems, because I actually care about the truth. But you can't handle, one cannot, manage or handle the truth in a 10-second meme. It doesn't work that way. So that's just the reality. This is just, that's the shape of the thing, and there's nothing I can do to change that. And anyway, I don't want to. So where are we? Yes, next. In any case, whichever way it goes, if at the end of, where are we now? Beginning of December. By the beginning of January, there's no clear solution. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to get on with something else, and as I hope I've explained, I have to, and I unfortunately can't just get a job with a company here and just give them 8 hours a day and support things and give this the rest of my time. That's been close to me here also, maybe a little surprisingly, but that's the discipline. That's where we are. So in any case, outside of whatever I have to end up doing, I'm going to continue studying, because I read the Qur'an on a daily basis, and I have thoughts, and I'll put those together. And maybe I'll just publish something on my Substack every now and then, but in written format. But I'm not going to commit to any sort of regime on that. It's because it's not possible to in the circumstances. So in closing, I don't want to continue this work if there is no point. And I think we may be there, and unless I'm proven wrong, I'll just accept that that's the case. If I'm proven wrong, great. I like being wrong sometimes. But I have to face the fact that what's interesting to me may not be interesting to a sufficient number of people, or a sufficient number of people who can help me do this. And that's fine. But I need to draw a line. I need some sort of clarity, because we're living in, I think for all of us, difficult times. And so if I don't come back after, if I come back after January, it means, somebody's come to me, contacted me with something real. I don't just mean, blah, 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 or, I really like your work, bro. I mean something real. Okay. I come from a corporate background. I know the difference between real and not real. And if it's real, fine. If it's not real, fine. But at least it means that in the new year, God willing, I'll be able to start, doing whatever it is I have to do, as we all have to do, while I'm waiting. That's just the reality of the situation. Anyway, I hope that's been of interest. I'm not going to allow comments on my YouTube. There's no point. This isn't about words. It's just about actions. I hope that's, explains things. And, my site, Qur'anite.com and samgerrans.com, they'll remain up. I advise people, I encourage them to download that work and get, to know it. And also the wonderful site which Brother Sayyid Mirza has put together, which features my own translation and all of the notes, plus many, many other resources. The ability to search on Arabic roots, to search by word. If you're studying the Quranic Arabic, I would have loved to have that resource at that time. It didn't exist. We had to do it, the old-fashioned way. It's incredibly useful. That's reader.quranite.com. If you're looking at this, video, and in the future, hopefully those sites will still be there. You can dig into that information. But, if I'm not still around doing things, then, hopefully this explains why. Anyway, I'm going to wrap that up there. Thanks for listening. And as ever, details of where I upload to, how you can join my Substack and Telegram channel, support my work and download my books free are in the description. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.